You're listening to CreepGeeks Podcast. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audiobook download and 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/CheapGeek. So it begins again. Welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. This is episode number 127.
Flying humanoids.
Yeah.
Hello there.
So welcome back to the CreepGeeks Podcast. Glad to have you with us. Very nice. I'm a little thrown off by the fact that our title is very, very short. You know what I mean? Usually we have a little bit of a longer sort of title to the whole thing. And this was very short. It sort of threw me off a little bit. So, I don't know how you feel about that.
I'm okay with it.
All right. Anyway, for you tuning in for the very first time, this is the CreepGeeks Podcast. Episode number 127 is Flying Humanoids. My name is Greg.
I'm Omi.
And this podcast is all about what?
Well, broadcasting paranormal news and fun stories from our CreepGeeks Bunker Studio in the mountains of Western North Carolina. We're an offbeat news podcast that takes a lighthearted approach to the strange, the stupid, paranormal, and tech topics circulating the web.
Yes, and if you'd like to support the show, you can certainly do that. If you'd like to contribute by calling in and leaving a message about something you may have experienced or would like to share, we have a phone number for you.
That phone number is 575-208-4025.
Yes, and if it's your very first time tuning in to the CreepGeeks Podcast and today's your birthday, happy birthday. If you tune in all the time and today's your birthday, happy birthday. It's a good thing. Happy birthday. Very, very nice. So anyway, this podcast, we talk about all sorts of crazy stuff, weird stuff, and there's something we've been kind of looking at for a little while. It's called flying humanoids. These are human-like things that fly around, hence the name flying humanoids. So it should be fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Come on. Gotta get with it. We gotta roll with it, right?
Uh-huh.
So, anyway, before we get started, if you listen to the podcast somewhere that you can leave a review, we would appreciate that.
We'll put a link in the show notes as far as giving us a review on iTunes, but basically any platform that you listen to us on, we appreciate the review. Reviews actually help podcasts grow. It gives the podcast more exposure and visibility and allows it to reach a larger audience.
Yes. It's very helpful, and we accept only the finest quality 3 to 5 star reviews, whether it's on iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, Radio.com, where else?
Google Podcasts, iTunes, Apple Podcasts, yeah, Spotify.
Spotify. Pretty much anywhere you can hear a podcast, you can hear us.
Yep.
So it's very, very nice. And if you'd like to support the show because you hear something that you thought was funny or useful or whatever, you can certainly do that. It's pretty easy to do. And you can support the show, CreepGeeks Podcast, with little to no effort on your part. It won't cost you anything at all. And it kind of goes like this. When you shop on Amazon.com, if you use our affiliate link, we'll get a small percentage. Doesn't change your price. And it helps us keep the coffee flowing in our simple DIY camper van, the Albino Rhino.
Oh.
Yes. Link is in our show notes. And it's also available on our website and anywhere you can see the show notes, because that's what we do when we do the podcast. We actually put our show notes up there so you can kind of follow along, or come back later on. You might want to click on a link or something like that to do some research on your own. But the link is Amazon.com/shop/CheapGeek. Yes. And I know you may be thinking, that's kind of weird because they keep saying CreepGeeks, but the link is CheapGeek. Well, let me tell you a little story. We do have a YouTube channel. It's a Cheap Geek channel. That's pretty much what it's called. Got 11 million views and 28,000 subscribers and all that sort of thing. And basically, when all of our Amazon stuff was set up a long time ago, that's what we used to set all this up, because we had a little bit of viewership, if you will. And what we did was we created the Cheap Geek Podcast a long time ago. And realized that we like to talk about paranormal stuff, weird stuff, creepy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And it didn't make sense to use the same name. So we created CreepGeeks. Because we thought that was clever. And by we, I mean me. I thought it was kind of clever, right? But what happens is when you do that, you have to start all over again.
Yeah.
And so our YouTube channel is growing. And our presence is growing. It's just taking a little while because that's what happens. Good things come to those who wait.
And it's not that Cheap Geek had, it still does. It is active. It is one of our other projects we work on.
Yes.
So if you are into DIY and...
DIY, product reviews, how-tos, all sorts of crazy stuff like that.
Yeah. Cheap solutions. Cheap Geek solutions.
Yeah.
So check it out.
And cheap's not a bad thing. So
yeah.
Don't get all like worked up over it. But if you'd like to also hang around with us and some of our internet endeavors, we have a Facebook group. It's called
CreepGeeks Facebook group.
Very original. And we also have a page. It's called
CreepGeeks Podcast.
Very nice. And that's on Facebook's.
Yes.
And if you want to go to our website is
CreepGeeks.com. And
CreepGeeks.com. See what we're doing here?
Yeah. And you can actually go to that website, find out all the latest news from us, and we have a contact us form you can fill out there if you'd like to share your story.
Yes.
And we are very active on Twitter and on Instagram, so feel free to check us out on there. We post a lot of photos and cool stuff.
Yes.
So, yeah.
Very nice. And as we do, we like to start off each podcast with an interesting random factoid. And our interesting random factoid for this time is that, did you know that there is a high possibility that there are flying humanoids? Did you know that?
No.
Now you do.
Great.
Yeah, that was pretty lame. It was pretty lame. Anyway. All right, so we're going to talk about flying humanoids because as we've paid attention to different things and check out different things in our 4T and endeavors and been kind of sort of paying attention, right? Mm-hmm. There's been lots of, like, large bird sightings, Mothman-style sightings, basically flying humanoid sightings, right? And a flying humanoid would be something that looks like a humanoid, maybe being bipedal, that kind of thing, having two legs and some flappy wings.
And arms.
Arms, possibly.
Yeah.
And what we notice is that aside from the Mothman style, and we're going to talk about Mothman a little bit, but, aside from the Mothman style sightings, any Owlman sightings, and some other stuff, there's just been, it seems to be a spate, if you will, of sightings.
Yeah.
Over the past, say, 10, 15 years. So doing some quick internet research, found a whole bunch of different stuff, and I was like, we should kind of talk about this because there are some differences in some of the descriptions of these humanoids. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And, that's kind of what we're looking at. It's kind of like, well, let's see how far down the rabbit hole this kind of goes. And, after about maybe 20 minutes or so, it was like, wow, I've got link after link after link.
Which will be in the show notes because you're going to want to go back and look at some of these for yourselves.
Yeah.
Primarily, when we think of flying humanoids, we do think of like Mothman, Owlman, Jersey Devil. There's a lot of overlap as far as like description and appearance for Mothman and Owlman. But then we've also provided a link in the show notes to just a general list of all avian humanoids.
Yes, and we didn't really include gargoyles, although we could have, but we did talk about gargoyles and possible gargoyle sightings that happened. I believe it was in Puerto Rico, and we talked about that about 4 months ago.
Yeah.
But I would think that gargoyle could be humanoid in appearance, but there's different flavors of gargoyles, if you will, and so we didn't really include those. So,
yeah.
If you're a big gargoyle fan, sorry. What was that show? There was a Walt Disney show that had gargoyles.
There was
I
a
think
cartoon
it was actually
called Gargoyles.
Called Gargoyles, yeah.
Yeah, and I think...
Fun fact, the head gargoyle leader dude was William Riker of Star Trek.
Really?
I should have put that as an interesting random factoid. That's really...
Okay, well, there's our interesting random
I mean, that's not his real name. William Riker. Yeah. I don't know his real name. I think it's... Hold on, it'll come to me.
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes.
Frakes. Yes.
That's what I said. Is that with the beard or without the beard?
I don't know.
Because with the beard, it's Frakes. And without the beard, it's something... Anyway, moving along.
Wikipedia does not include the beard detail.
That's, good old Wikipedia. Speaking of Wikipedia, we have a couple different definitions of some of the things we're going to talk about. Mm-hmm. So the first one is Mothman. You're supposed to go, yeah, okay.
Well, yeah. I mean, but my thing is, everybody, for the most part, has an understanding of Mothman.
That's not true.
Okay.
Because not everybody knows about Mothman. I mean, we do. If you do any kind of research in this sort of thing at all, you probably do. Or if you've seen the movie, what's the movie called?
Mothman Prophecies.
What's Mothman Prophecies? Then you may have some general idea about Mothman, but...
I just realized there are people who have been born after Mothman Prophecies and may not have seen it. So, like full-grown adults.
When did that come out?
Let's see. Mothman Prophecies.
I mean, because the book came out in 1975, written by John Keel. Mm-hmm. But as far as the movie...
2002.
Wow.
Yeah,
so you could be like 17 years old and never have heard of this.
Yes. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. That's sad.
Yeah.
For us. All right. So anyway, in West Virginia folklore, the Mothman is a creature. I'm reading this out of Wikipedia because they did a pretty good job of sort of summarizing it in a way that kind of makes sense. The Mothman is a creature that was seen around Point Pleasant. And of course, it's West Virginia, right? Because this is part of West Virginia folklore. And this was in 1966. So it was November 12th, 1966 to December 15th, 1967. Right?
Yeah.
And so in the newspaper, they had a couple different articles that, like, couple sees man-sized bird, creature, or something.
Yeah.
Okay. So the sightings kind of started, and then it went into sort of, it said it was introduced to the idea of Mothman was introduced to a wider audience by Gray Barker in 1970, and then later popularized by John Keel in his 1975 book, The Mothman Prophecies, where he was claiming, that there were supernatural events related to the sightings and in a connection to the collapse of the Silver Bridge. Now, the Silver Bridge collapsed, and people think that the Mothman and the sightings related to the Mothman were prophetic in the fact that, people seen it and then, boom, the bridge goes down. Whether that's actually related or not, I mean, who really knows? Because this whole thing is kind of weird, really, the giant moth man flying around.
Yeah.
But if you go back and look at some of the history, it said November 12, 1966, 5 men who were digging a grave at a cemetery, right, near Clendenin, I don't know how to say that, West Virginia, claimed to see a man-like figure fly low from the trees over their heads. And what they say is that's reported, or could be, from what people think, is the first reported sighting of Mothman.
But then the one that's more popular or was more publicized was the 1966 November 15th sighting, which was 2 young couples from Point Pleasant, Roger and Linda Scarberry and Steve and Mallory Mallet. They told police they saw a large gray creature whose eyes glowed red when the car's headlights picked it up. They described it as a large flying man with 10-foot wings following their car while they were driving in an area outside of the TNT area, the site of a former World War II munitions plant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a few days later, there were some more sightings. 2 volunteer firemen seen a large bird with red eyes. So anyway, these sightings sort of continued. Right? Mm-hmm. And in, 1967, December 15th, the collapse of Silver Bridge and unfortunately caused the death of 46 people. And that incident gave rise to legend that's connected to the Mothman sightings and the actual bridge collapse.
Yeah.
So in 2002, they made the movie, Mothman Prophecies, and it's loosely based on the book of the same name by John Keel. And they also sort of tie into a couple different things, which we'll sort of talk about in a little bit. The Mothman was seen in Moscow or in Russia as well.
Yeah.
And they say that foreshadowed the 1999 Russian apartment bombings. And then in 2016, the Mothman was sighted again by an anonymous man who was driving on Route 2, right?
Yeah.
And allegedly there was a photo taken of it where it kind of proposed to show a bird, perhaps an owl, carrying a frog or a snake away, right? And then wrote that there is zero reason to suspect that it's the Mothman as described in legend. So that's so far like the only physical picture is the one that was kind of put up in 2016 by television station WCHS. And that's just by an anonymous dude. So the Mothman's been pretty popular. There's the festival that happens every year. People talk about it a lot. They talk about John Keel because John Keel has done much more research. They talk about Ingrid Cold, the Smiling Man. There's lots of lore around all this sort of thing. And one of the things that Keel said later on, if you haven't read any John Keel, there's some stuff that's pretty far out there.
Yeah.
And I put a little quote in here because I wanted to remember it. I just got to find it. What did I do with it? Because something that he had said kind of ties into something that's sort of an idea about all of this stuff, like whether it's ghosts and 14 stuff and unidentified flying objects and aliens and all this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And the theory is that other theories have included that it's some undiscovered species of animal, a mutant secret experiment escaped, aliens, or the idea that it's some sort of interdimensional interloper, which is what John Keel referred to as ultra-terrestrials.
Okay.
So he uses the term ultra-terrestrials to talk about everything, like UFOs, escaped aliens, Bigfoot, ghosts, anything that's hard to explain because it doesn't have any way to be explained, right, and backed up with fact, I guess.
Yeah.
Can be called an ultra-terrestrial. And we've kind of talked about that in the past, where like things like you see a pterodactyl flying around, and people are like, oh my God, it's a Thunderbird's pterodactyl. And then it just kind of goes away. And then there's no evidence of seeing it, except for you've seen it with your own eyes, but a lot of times there's no photographic evidence or anything like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of flies into our dimension, if you will, and then flies out, right? So it flies into our parallel universe and then flies out and goes into, it's almost like flying through a hole in time or space or whatever. Flies in, shows up here, and then flies back through another little hole. And so when I look at that, I'm like, wow, that kind of makes sense. Ultra-terrestrials would be where they can sort of bridge that sort of gap, that sort of where universes collide, step through, it's here, does its thing, steps away. So, I don't know. I just thought that was something to kind of put in there because it sort of can explain most of the stuff that we see, but it doesn't necessarily explain everything. And when we talk about the flying humanoids, we've got the Mothman, which is sighted. It's supposed to be a prophetic sort of thing. And then I didn't realize that the Owlman was something that was a thing.
Yeah.
Until I started looking for this stuff. And there's a couple different things about the Owlman. Okay. And the Owlman and this is over in England, in like Cornwall, I guess. Cornish. If you're Cornish, are you from Cornwall? You know what I mean? Do you know anything about Cornish?
Cornwall, UK. So It would be the Cornish Owlman.
And they make those little chickens that you can eat, the Cornish hens, right?
They don't make them.
Well, they invented them. Their name's in the title. But yeah, anyway, so with the Cornish folklore, the Owlman is also sometimes referred to as the Cornish Owlman or the Owlman of Malnan, which is hard.
That is just painful.
I'm having a hard time.
And it's an owl-like creature said to have been seen around mid-1976 in the village of Mothman in Cornwall, UK. The Owlman is sometimes compared to Mothman. However, a Eurasian eagle owl is likely the source of the legend. Now, the story originated when Tony Doc Shields claimed to have investigated a report of two young girls on holiday in Mothman who saw a large winged creature hovering above the church tower on April 17th, 1976. According to most versions of the story, the girls, identified as June and Vicky Melling, were so frightened by the sight of a large feathered Birdman that their father Don immediately cut short their family holiday after hearing their tale. According to Shields, one of the girls provided him with a drawing of the creature, which he dubbed Owlman.
Kind of makes you wonder, since their dad immediately cut their family holiday short.
Yeah.
It is getting close to Father's Day, by the way, if you're listening to this. I wonder if Dad was like, just didn't want to go.
Yeah.
And the girls come back and say, oh my God, there's a giant Owlman. That's it. Get your stuff. We're out of here. We're going back home. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. We're going home right now. We're going to go back home, and I'm going to sit there, and I'm going to relax.
It's so messed up.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever need an excuse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But this story was subsequently related in a pamphlet entitled Morgwar, The Monster of Falmouth Bay, by Anthony Monin Peller, which circulated through Cornwall in 1976. Now, according to Shields, Owlman was reported again on July 3rd.
Yeah.
By two 14-year-old girls. So again, two girls together.
Sally Chapman.
Yeah.
And Barbara Perry.
Who were aware of the Owlman tale. According to the story, the two girls were camping when they were confronted by a big owl with pointed ears, as big as a man, with glowing eyes and black pincher-like claws.
Glowing red eyes.
Now, sporadic claims of Owlman sightings in the vicinity of a church circulated in 1978, 79, 89, and 95. And according to the legend, a loud owl-like sound could be heard at night in the Mullen Church yard during the year 2000. Now, I guess people have tried to explain it away.
Like, oh yeah, that's a barn owl.
Barn owls.
That's a Eurasian, whatever owl.
Now, for TNTV presenter Reverend Lionel Farnthrop also identifies the sighting of a
Lionel Fanthrope.
Fanthrope.
That's just made up.
Yeah.
Eurasian eagle owl is
Yeah.
what he was saying. It's like a big giant eagle owl.
Someone else
Okay.
Someone else is basically flat out saying that the whole thing may have been a hoax by Shields, who had a reputation for hoaxing. Yeah. And he's
But I mean, how did he hoax it if the girl's seen it?
Yeah. Well, maybe the original one was a hoax, and then what happens is hysteria. So, yeah.
Maybe it's a tulpa. People manifest the thought becomes reality.
Now,
tulpa.
this historian that claims it's a hoax noted that witnesses claiming encounters with the legendary monster were either Doc Shields, friends of Doc Shields, or relatives of Doc Shields, or reported their sightings to Doc Shields and no one else, or else wrote letters describing what they had seen to newspapers and were never actually interviewed by anyone. Yeah.
Interesting.
So, I don't know.
Well, we may never know.
Now, the thing is, Owlman...
But it is probably likely that it's just a big-ass owl.
Yeah.
If you see one at all.
For me, Owlman and Mothman, they kind of overlap a little bit in the sense that there's humanoid characteristics.
Yes.
But for me, the Jersey Devil has never really, at least the way it was always impressed upon me growing up, was never depicted as having
humanoid type features.
Yeah, I mean, with the exception of
when
being,
you look at the picture of the Jersey Devil,
yeah,
and it has. I'm trying to bring it up so I can describe it.
Well,
evidently I didn't open it, but
I have one here on Wikipedia, and plus, you know, Google Images. It's always like this goat with like very short front legs, bat-like wings, a goat or barnyard animal type neck and face, and a forked tail.
Yeah,
and
with wings.
Yeah, and then.
But see, it's just that description that you described.
Yeah.
Is alliterated with the whole, Philadelphia Bulletin that sort of put this picture up in 1909. And that's just an interpretation of it because it's also been described really, as a flying biped with hooves. And if you look at it and it's got the goat face and all that stuff, like you've got goat squatch and sheep squatch and all that.
Yeah.
If you didn't draw it all skinny and weird looking, you know what I mean?
But then, like, there were some...
But they say kangaroo-like.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well.
But I remember specifically in the late 90s, I had actually met somebody who claimed they had seen the Jersey Devil, and their description always threw me off because it was something I had never heard of, and they swore that their encounter was pretty much like a skinny Bigfoot with wings.
Yeah.
And I'd never encountered that before. But
see,
very specific because it was so limber and it could fly, but a lot of times it navigated the trees like a chimp, you know?
And see, I had heard a description a long time ago of the Jersey Devil, right? Or the Leeds Devil. And it didn't match at all this picture.
Yeah.
Of what they say is a Jersey Devil. And I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not what I had heard. So, and I had heard it from somebody who lived around the Pine Barrens area in Jersey.
Yeah.
And they told me what, I'm like, okay, that doesn't sound, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, I mean, it didn't match this current sort of image that I see. It's not current. I mean, it's been around since 1909.
Yeah.
But I think about the Pine Barrens area in general is that there's a bunch of stuff out there. People say it's haunted. People say there's all sorts of crazy stuff out there.
So maybe
this is part of it.
A conglomeration of everything spooky everybody's ever witnessed out there.
Yeah, because if you look at, okay, so if do you know
Yeah.
the whole Jersey Devil origin?
Well, so the origin that I was told was the whole mother leads last child thing. And according
13th child.
Yeah. And it was the 13th child born to Mother Leeds. She had 12 children, and then after finding out she was pregnant for the 13th time, she cursed the child in frustration, crying that the child would be the devil. Now, in 1735, Mother Leeds was in labor on a stormy night while her friends gathered around her. Born as a normal child, the 13th child changed to a creature with hooves, goat head, bat wings, and a forked tail. Growling and screaming, it killed the midwife before flying up the chimney and heading into the pines. In some versions of the tale, Mother Leeds was supposedly a witch.
Yeah, see, that's what I heard.
And the child's father was the devil himself.
Yeah.
Now, some versions of the legend also state that there was subsequently an attempt by local clergymen to exorcise the creature from Pine Barrens, or that the creature proceeded to kill local children. Now, when I was growing up, it was kind of like a hybrid of all those stories together. Like, it did kill the midwife, but it actually stayed in the house. The priests and the villagers tried to come, exorcise it.
Yeah.
And in the process, it killed the priest and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And at that point, when the villagers, came with their pitchforks, that's when it started wreaking the most havoc.
Yeah.
That's how I grew up. But I don't...
Well, see, that's what I heard, too. And with the description that, I heard from in the past and all that sort of thing, when you see the picture that's in, like, Wikipedia or that came from the Philadelphia Bulletin where it says 1909,
yeah,
I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is that? And it's like, did they do that on purpose? Did they actually put that out there so that you wouldn't be afraid of it? Like, oh, look at that stupid-looking thing.
It can't even stand up on its own.
Yeah, because it looks really goofy. But when I had heard about the Jersey Devil, I learned about this in elementary school, where we also learned about the Witch of Witchduck.
And I learned about the Witch of Pungo.
And the Witch of Pungo. Well, Witchduck Witch and Pungo Witch, the same witch.
Really?
Yeah.
They tried to tell us they were two different ones.
Well, the Witchduck is where they trialed her, where she went on trial. She was from Pungo, but they had her on trial at Witchduck. That's why they call her Witch. That's why they call that area Witchduck. And so that's supposedly where she's buried. Anyway, they don't teach that crap in school anymore. I thought it's part of colonial history, right?
Yeah.
So the first time I seen this, I'm like, that's kind of crazy. And so there's other descriptions and sort of other reports of weird things going on, and things like somebody was testing their cannonballs. And of course, there's a bunch of different history, but it's like in parts of a legend, this person basically sighted the flying creature and fired a cannonball at it with no effect.
Huh.
And then Joseph Bonaparte, who is the older brother of Napoleon, claimed to see the Jersey Devil while he was hunting his border town estate. They said in 1820. 1840, Jersey Devil is blamed for some livestock killings. 1841, tracks and screams, 1925, local farmer shot an unidentified animal as it attempted to steal his chickens, and then photographed the corpse.
Yeah.
Afterward, he claimed that that none of the 100 people he showed the photo to could identify it.
Oh.
I'm like, okay. 1937, animal with red eyes was seen by the residents of Downingtown, Pennsylvania, and that was compared to the Jersey Devil. Right? Mm-hmm. That was the one that was reported. Okay, so when they seen it in Pennsylvania, they compared it to the Jersey Devil by a reporter from the Pennsylvania Bulletin.
Yeah.
In 1937. Some people seen the monster. 1951. Saying it matched the devil's description. Claims of a corpse matching the Jersey Devil's description was, supposedly found in 1957. Same year, right?
Yeah.
During 1960, they heard tracks and heard more noises. So I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out, kind of what's going on here. But if you take the picture away and you describe it as being goat head, wings, man body kind of thing with cloven hooves, it kind of sounds like the devil. I don't think it'd look as stupid as this picture of the Jersey Devil, though. I don't know. For some reason, it just bothers me to see that picture.
Yeah. Especially when I don't know, I guess the way the teachers implanted it in my memory was different.
Why would you be scared of this thing?
It looks like it can't even stand up straight.
Yeah, it's got like a goat head, long skinny neck, little tiny little Tyrannosaurus.
You could easily explain away this image as a birth defect. Like the overly short front arms, and then the wings could be vestigial appendages or whatever. So you could explain this whole thing away as like major birth defects.
Yeah, I suppose.
On an animal. Not out of a lady, but, out of an animal, that could be explained away scientifically. And that is easier than what we were taught in school.
Yeah, and kind of what we're doing with this podcast is we're sort of doing a high-level overview of flying humanoids. We're not going into great and agonizing detail.
But I do recommend reading the Jersey Devil's Wikipedia entry because it's pretty interesting. There's a lot of stuff. Yeah, it's got some good stuff. It even goes so far as to talking about the feud between Benjamin Franklin and the Leeds family. Yeah. So I'm like,
well, they originally said the Leeds Devil was Daniel Leeds.
Yeah. So.
Because it was a negative description. But yeah, and they describe the whole family as being monsters. And I mean, who's to say, though? Because the rival you're talking about is, because remember, Franklin was doing his almanac. Poor Richard's almanac. Yeah. And he was the direct competitor. So, I mean, who knows? So, I mean, I wonder how much of the Jersey Devil stuff that's put in these. I think it's actually in the almanac. I'm not 100% sure, but it's just because Franklin didn't like the other guy.
Which is weird because the other guy was a Quaker. Yeah. But his publications were almanacs containing astrological symbols and writings as well as...
Yeah, because he converted over to, we call it Anglicanism. Angling, I don't know how to... I don't know why I can't talk today. Anglicanism.
No.
How do you say it?
Nope. I know how to say a different version of it. Anglicized. He anglicized.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So, but
and he criticized the Quakers after that. So there you go. Oh, Lord Cornbury. What kind of goofball name is that?
Okay. But, okay, so that's 3. Mothman, Owlman, Jersey Devil. Those are ones most popularly known.
Well, so far, because the ones that really don't have names are the ones that people are seeing, it seems.
Okay.
And there's like a whole style of these flying humanoids, like the avian style, which is like bird-like.
Yeah.
Right? And there's a list of avian humanoids. Did you know that?
Yes.
And so this list, I mean, of course, probably the biggest, maybe not the biggest, but the most popular avian style humanoid would be what?
An angel.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's probably the ones that are, the most popular that we've heard of.
Yeah, well, like the angel, cherub, or fairy even. Like the Tinkerbell fairies.
Well, Tinkerbell, no, because Tinkerbell, I can't. Tinkerbell fairy, because I don't know why I can't talk today. Didn't have like bird wings; had like little mosquito, bug wings.
Okay, well, dragon.
So these are avian.
Okay.
Well, wouldn't that be a bug?
Yeah.
Yes. Avian be more bird-like. So we're talking about like some of the pictures seen from Sumerian and Mesopotamian times where you have a winged, human-headed, bird-like man holding stuff. There's an Egyptian, Iris's sister, Arche, had wings. Anzu, I think is the one I'm thinking of from Mesopotamia, had the human head and the body and the wings. But they're shown bringing stuff. Yeah. That's part of it. Like in this whole winged arc, they're always bringing stuff.
Yeah, because there's a bit from Mesopotamia,
Yeah. Now some of these myths where they show like the with the wings and bringing stuff, I don't think they should be taken necessarily literally, because literally the wings means that they came from somewhere from great distance, and the bringing stuff is like knowledge or power or whatever.
And they were trying to find a way to make it clear to people who read it later, this thing flew in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, some of these things that you see, they're not bringing knowledge and power and all that stuff. They're like whizzing around, flying all crazy. So,
yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of crazy. You like Ba, right? Which is the bird with the human head. Who's the Egyptian, bird head with the wings?
No.
No, it's not.
The bird head is Horus.
That's what it is, Horus, yeah.
Yeah. But then the goddess with the wings, I'm trying to remember who that is. So, oh man. But yeah.
And you got harpies, remember those are like bird-like women's?
Yeah.
Horus and Toph, or Tot. It's like a falcon and an ibis.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them. There's ones we can't even pronounce, like the hummingbirds, which is like it's an Aztec god of some of them war. It's usually depicted as being a hummingbird or an eagle. And it's like Huitzilopochtli. I can't say that. So Isis and her sister, they were often depicted as having, like bird heads attached to them or wings.
Yeah. Lamassu. And then, so this thing lists Lamassu.
Legong, Chinese thunder god.
Also lists as Anzu from Mesopotamia. But there's like a bunch from Mesopotamia.
Yeah.
Including like the one, and it escapes me, it's the one that like brought like all doom and stuff,
Ra.
No, a female.
Oh.
Yeah, because she had like snakes in her hands and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
But Ra was often depicted as having like a bird head.
Yeah. Now, sirens and harpies are kind of the same, but eventually sirens later evolved to be closer to mermaids, like, more tempting than fear mongering, Swan maidens, which were, I guess, very popular in places like Sweden, Germany, Romania, Serbia, Japan, and Pakistan. The Tangatu Manu of Easter Island, which was a frigate bird or human hybrid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Winged people. Were some stories that were written. Yeah. I mean, there's like a whole list of them. And these flying humanoid depictions, just in general, they go all the way back through the ancient times up until current times, really.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at like Russians and Egyptians and Sumerians, Mesopotamians, Aztec people, Chinese people, every culture has some sort of winged human or humanoid.
Ishtar, that's who it was.
Ishtar.
Yeah.
That was a terrible movie. Ishtar.
Well, she was also a pretty frightening goddess.
Well, the Russian version of the sirens were bird-like.
Yeah, and so it was Ishtar and Inanna.
Yeah,
so those were two. Yeah.
Very nice. So, yeah. But, a lot of those, I think, have been, sort of stylized to show that they came in from somewhere else, bringing knowledge and information, that sort of thing, from great distances. But those others, it's just like, no, these things just straight up fly. And will possibly kill you to death. But, angels are in there too. But, yeah. So I'm like, okay. So we know that flying humanoids and the idea of flying humanoids or flying humanoid-type creatures has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
But what struck me was looking at a resource map. And this is done... It's nice. It's made in Google Maps.
Yeah.
Right? And this is a 2017 through 2019 cryptid winged humanoid entity report from eyewitnesses in the Chicago, Illinois metro area and region. Right?
Yeah.
And it pretty much covers eyewitness reports that go all the way back from 2011 to the present. And there's over 80 of these.
Yeah, and the most recent...
And this was put out there by Phantoms and Monsters.
Yeah.
Right, so you got Lon... when did Lon put this out? I
think it started a couple months into 2017 just because it became so numerous.
Yeah, he started compiling all that stuff. Lon Strickler put it out because he has his phantomsandmonsters.com.
Yeah.
And he's been documenting these flying humanoids, and he actually wrote about Mothman.
Yeah.
I think he has a new book, too, but when I clicked on this map, 81 of these things.
Yeah, and the most recent one, like I was saying, is Monday, April 8th, 2019.
Yeah.
So...
But what struck me with this map is, it lists, right at 84 of these things. But some of the descriptors. Large winged biped is pretty popular. Winged humanoid is popular. Owl-like humanoid is in there, right? Owlman, huge Owlman. Giant red-eyed human bat. Pale blue-eyed man bat.
Oh.
Unknown flying creature. Winged being that vanishes, right?
Yeah.
Bat-winged humanoid. Bat-winged humanoid. Bat-winged being.
Yeah.
There's a lot of bat-winged humanoid type style.
And then shapeshift.
Descriptors.
Yeah. But there's a lot where...
Bat-like humanoid is popular, too.
And 7 foot to 8 foot seems to be a common theme.
Yeah.
So, because there's wow.
Glowing orange eyes, glowing red eyes, bright red ruby eyes.
Yeah.
Huge owl-like humanoid with bright yellow eyes. So, huge Lakuza, which is like a big owl.
Yeah.
Large flying bat-like humanoid. Large bat-like humanoid. Large humanoid bat. Pair of bats.
Didn't we talk about the Lechuza one on an earlier podcast?
Yeah, and there's a couple sightings in Texas that we're gonna hit on at least one of those in a little bit.
Yeah.
Huge black bat. Giant bat. Giant red-eyed bat. Large human-like black bat. Giant 7-foot tall bat. Bat-like humanoid. Okay, so you have the Mothman description where it's like he's a big moth, right?
Yeah.
These are an awful lot of flying bat-like creature reports. Yeah. And so far there's not really a name.
And it's weird because it goes from all these bat-like ones, that seems to be the overwhelming theme, to occasionally there's an Owlman, or this one, human shapeshifts into giant blackbird.
Yeah, black devil.
So it's clear division right there.
Yeah, gray humanoid.
Yeah, but the
man bat is a popular one too.
But the big thing is it's either a man bat or bat-like, or then...
Now, see, I think if you were going to do the man bat description, that would be pretty close to maybe possibly more towards gargoyle.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple descriptions of, dark gargoyle.
Yeah. And it but it also, to me, since Mothman is the closest thing I can bring it to, it would kind of get pushed that way for me.
Maybe, but I think there's a pretty big difference between moth wings and man bat wings. One's fleshy.
But how many...
One's not.
I mean, bat has been depicted in the media more frequently than moth,
Yeah, well...
So, I mean, anything that's fragile and has veins and lines
Large
in it.
winged biped.
Anything that's got structure, people are going to automatically go over to bat as opposed to moth. So,
well, maybe.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of them. And the cool thing about this interactive map, which we do actually have in our show notes, is that you can kind of click on it and read the encounter, the report, read the eyewitness testimonies.
Yeah.
And it doesn't take you away from the map. It just basically says what the description was.
But you can get taken away from the map by clicking on the article link, which helps me determine, how long these have been going on.
Yeah.
Some of these are from 2011 all the way up into a month or two ago this year. So it's an awesome project that Lon created. So.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. And I kind of thought, wow, man, but why concentrated in that particular region? That's what makes it so crazy.
I know, because if you zoom out, it's this whole little area.
It's up around Wisconsin, Chicago, Milwaukee, around Lake Michigan.
Yeah.
Area there, sort of clustered in it. And, the way it sort of goes is that some of the report, it kind of ends around where Cedar Rapids is. It comes across, there's been a couple reports like into Indiana.
Yeah.
And then up around Ann Arbor. It's just in this little concentrated area, man.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy.
I just think it's weird because it's, Milwaukee, then mostly the southern part of Lake Michigan is the highest concentration.
Yeah.
And then you have these outliers. But the
84.
outliers, if you coordinate the numbers, the outliers still have very similar descriptions to the ones in the concentrated area.
Yeah.
So
I think we're going to talk a little bit more in detail in just a minute. So anyway, you're listening to the CreepGeeks Podcast. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back.
The goal of M&D Paranormal is to compassionately, knowledgeably, and professionally support and offer paranormal services to those who have been affected by a paranormal experience, including those who have been indirectly affected. Services provided include paranormal investigation, property research, and evidence review of residential, business, and private property locations. Cleansing of these properties are available upon request. No matter the circumstances of the paranormal experience, M&D Paranormal strive to offer a non-judgmental environment to promote education, open communication, and empathy to each individual that chooses to share their experience or come into our service. In achieving this goal, M&D Paranormal is building and bringing together a community of open and like-minded individuals by offering free monthly gatherings and events at the Shop Eclectic, 49 State Street, Marion, North Carolina. Call us anytime at 828-484-1637 or 828-559-2818 or email us at mndparanormal.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, so before the break, we talked a lot about the resource map that Lon Strickler put out.
Yeah.
Phantoms and Monsters 84 reported sightings. I thought that was great. Anyway, kind of go through, because we've talked about a lot of the sightings that, make the rounds, if you will, the news, and it's like, the last time we talked about this particular map, do you remember how many were on it?
It was like in the 30s or 40s.
No, it was way more than that. It was like in the 60s.
Okay.
But, so you figure the past year and a half or whatever, year that we sort of looked at, found this map and actually looked at it.
Yeah.
Well, it's a little bit different, too, because Google Maps has changed. But so there's been way more sightings now, right? Mm-hmm. Than before, which I'm trying to figure out. It's like, okay, so because for a while there was like little sporadic sightings, but then it seemed to kick up, and then along with those increase in sightings, there have also been an increase in like Thunderbird sightings, right? And then also an increase in sightings like around Texas for some reason.
Yeah.
And so after looking at that particular map, there's been flying humanoids in Texas. I was surprised to find, at least off this particular website, how many humanoids. Flying humanoid sightings there were in Texas.
Okay.
Right? Like, here's one from June 8th, 2019, where somebody basically reported that they seen a strange hovering creature seen in their yard. And this was just outside of Fort Worth, right?
Yeah.
May 19th, a flying humanoid on Alton Glore Boulevard in Brownsville, Texas. Granted, some of these are reports from back in the past, but I didn't realize that Texas had these sightings. I don't know, it's kind of a thing. And there's like the La Chuzo, right? That's that owl that you were talking about.
Yeah.
And that was reported November 24th, 2018. I mean, that's when it was, reported, but it's not when it actually happened. It happened when persons were younger. And then you got flying witches, right? Have you seen that?
No.
No? Okay. And then the pterodactyl-like humanoid spotted near Three Rivers.
Actually, I think we did talk about the Three Rivers one because...
We did. It was like in 2000 is about when it was, right?
Yeah, and plus it's because I've always wanted to go to Three Rivers.
Yeah.
So...
But that was more like... But see, that's just it. That's a pterodactyl-like humanoid, not like a pterodactyl just flying around. This one's like a humanoid, which I thought was kind of crazy. Yeah. Bat-like creature on top of a hotel, South Padre Island. That was, that was kind of weird.
Oh, this was the one that made it onto the internet and went a little viral. the man morphs into giant bat-like creature near flea market in Brownsville.
Yeah.
Yeah. I remember that one.
And then you've also got the flying humanoid encounter near Denny's in McAllen, Texas.
But I think what's funny is, like, you know, we've picked apart and spoken about these in the past, and like I think what we were trying to emphasize with the map that Lon Strickler did is the fact that when you see it in such a condensed format like that,
yeah,
it's not just the sporadic, you know, lone person that may have had a delusion. It seems to be more massive and more intense than that.
Yeah,
it
it's
seems
super
to be,
concentrated. I mean, you know, 84 plus sightings in a relatively small area.
It seems to be many legitimate sightings.
Yeah.
As opposed to just, one lone crazy guy. That's not the case.
Yeah. In this case, you get 84 crazy guys. Right.
But 84 crazy guys with very similar experiences?
Yeah, exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make. It's like, okay.
And now in Texas, everything seems to be, you know, more along towards the bat-like, or, you know, the not birdie, I guess.
Yeah.
You know?
Non-bird-like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was surprised, you know, to see that, you know, at least 10
Yeah.
that came across. And the website we're looking at is basically called TrueHorrorStoriesOfTexas.com. And we've talked about a lot of what's on this website.
Yeah.
They just made reference to
wow.
it. But they put it all in one spot. And I was like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, and there was a couple things that I thought were pretty interesting.
If you search their site for flying humanoid, many of these links actually give a little pinpoint or a little map location.
Yeah.
A lot of this is concentrated in southern Texas.
Yeah, which was the point I was getting ready to get to, is like, but it's not all throughout Texas. It's more towards the south, right?
Yeah.
Or southern Texas. So, yeah. Kind of crazy, right?
Yeah. I wonder if they have, like, if that's going to be like the next hot zone for activity. It's super concentrated, you know? I mean, Farr, Brownsville, this other location, where was it?
I think it was in McAllen. Or just outside of Dallas. Deep South Texas. But they also talk about the Lechuza, which is basically a witch who turns into an owl. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out because...
And then they also talk about La Llorona, which was spotted near Levy in Mercedes, Texas.
Olamito. That's the one where it was a bruja.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Flying witch.
Yeah. Also in the southern Texas.
Yeah. It seems like there's a whole lot of southern Texas, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was pretty interesting to see, okay, so you have this concentrated area, and then, wait, there's more flying humanoids in another concentrated area, right, this time in Texas. Also lots of big bird sightings that has happened throughout, like thunderbirds and pterodactyls, and a couple in Texas.
But there's one difference I want to note here.
Excuse me.
In southern Lake Michigan area, in Chicago, and, you know, things like that, you got a lot of buildings. It's a very industrialized location.
Yeah.
Or, you know, very urban for the most part.
Well, especially the ones around Chicago, yeah.
Yeah. This area of Texas, it's kind of plains and kind of small towny.
Yeah.
So how are similar experiences being experienced, you know, very far apart, different regions, different environments entirely?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of makes you wonder. It's like, are things transiting? Do they transit there? Where are they coming from? I mean, you know, and the Thunderbirds seemed like transit through there.
Yeah.
And then transit up the East Coast. It's just weird. Just to see it.
Oh. I was reading the Denny's one. Sorry.
Well, you might as well tell people then.
It was just like, you know, I saw this humanoid a couple weeks back. Me and my brother and his fiance were headed to Denny's to go eat. I sat in the back of the truck, mind you, and this was around 3 a.m. I look in the sky, and what do I see? A massive man flying in the skies with huge wings. So I yell out to my brother's fiance, and I tell her, I just saw a winged man flying in the sky. After that, I never saw it again. Till this day, I look up at the sky. So, yeah, it was just weird because it's like, okay, pretty normal situation. No mention of drinking or anything. It is 3 a.m., but yeah.
And you are at Denny's.
So the assumption's there.
Yeah, I mean, anytime you have somebody that eats at Denny's past 11, you should assume that there's some spirits involved.
Mm-hmm. And
maybe even Waffle House, too.
Yeah.
And what's the other one?
IHOP.
IHOP. Oh, yeah, definitely IHOP. Yeah.
So.
But yeah, we also reported about the flying humanoid sighting where the guy was in his car. Remember? And he tried to outrun it or something like that. He was talking about how fast his car was.
Yeah.
And you're like, dude, that's a Honda Civic with a trash can muffler on. I don't know exactly how fast that would be.
Was that like in the area that when we drove across the U.S.?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So, which is weird because that was a very stormy season.
Yes, it was.
So that kind of goes back.
Oh no, we were up north.
Yeah,
we were up north. That sighting was down towards South Texas. Weird. I mean, you got South like Padre Island, right? A huge winged creature on top of a hotel.
Yeah,
that's what they say. But so all right, so it goes from Texas, right? And they also had reportings in Kentucky. Mm-hmm. And there was also a reporting. This one I put in here because they had the greenish yellow eyes. Because it seems like eye color with a lot of these Mothman, Owlman, flying humanoid are either orange, or red, or yellow.
Okay.
Which would be more animalistic, except for the one that we seen on the map, the
blue-eyed.
Yeah, pale blue eyes, which is okay. It's kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
But the greenish-eyed flying humanoid sighting was in 2011, and it had greenish yellowish eyes. That was near Indiana.
Okay.
The Prairie Creek Reservoir in Indiana, which is something that was a little bit different. The yellowish greenish eyes. I thought it was kind of weird. And so we're going to reach out to Chasing Night Shadows and Nathan and see if he knows anything about it.
Okay.
So, just to kind of see. But this was also kind of one of those sightings that was put on this map that we were looking at from Strickler, Lon Strickler.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because like this sighting actually, because Lon Strickler put up that map, they were encouraged to actually tell the story. And it starts with, my husband was on Facebook and saw this article that you wrote and immediately showed it to me because I am certain this is the creature I saw 8 years ago in 2011, around this same time of year, winter, when I was on my way to work. The events unfolded as such. I was driving down Road 1 between 400 and 500 South. Now, this location is in Randolph County, just 10 to 15 minutes kind of east from Prairie Creek Reservoir.
Yeah.
This is why the article caught my husband's attention from the beginning. Anyway, as I was driving, I saw what appeared to be a human crouched down in the road. As I got closer, and the more I slowed down, it did not move, so I was at a complete stop. This thing slowly turned its head to look my way, and it had greenish yellowish eyes, like the color of cat eyes. It stared for maybe 3 seconds and then proceeded to slowly get up from its position, like a human would stand up because it had legs.
It had legs.
It turned towards my car. It stepped on my car and used it to take off. Then it lifted off like a glider towards the sky. I turned my head just in time to see it tuck its legs into its body, so it did appear as a bird in flight, kind of. Its wingspan was wider than anything I've ever seen on an animal in my life. I told my husband what had happened, and he told me it had to have been a bird until he saw this article. I've never said anything to anyone else in fear that I'd be made fun of or made out to be an idiot. I also would still like to maintain my privacy, as I do not want any public attention from this, as I have a young daughter and do not want her to be brought into it either.
Yeah.
I hope you'll maintain my privacy as well and keep my involvement just as a witness as you did the other witness in your article. So, and according to Strickler, this witness seems very honest but declined to be interviewed by telephone due to privacy concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that's also reported with a lot of these sightings where if they see it, whatever it is, and it goes to take off or fly away, a lot of times it just seems to jump straight up in the air and then start flying.
Yeah.
Sometimes the wing flaps, sometimes they don't. And then sometimes when they see them flying, the wings aren't moving at all. It's almost like a glider. And so that's been reported a bunch of different times where he's like just flying overhead.
Yeah.
Just, wings out, just kind of doing its thing.
You know, that
Or it
reminds
pops
me.
up straight up like 10, 15 feet straight up in the air and then sort of one flap and then it's gone, which is kind of crazy.
And I've actually seen that. It's weird because I thought about that. I've actually seen that while driving through or past the Dismal Swamp. An owl can do that.
Yeah.
But a big one. And I've seen a big one that scared the poop out of me because it was a really big owl in the middle of the road eating something dead.
Gross.
Yeah. But
I mean, that's what they do.
different.
It's like they pop up and then it can, be gone or it glides and it's so quiet. So yeah, it's kind of crazy.
But the eye shine's different.
Yeah, it's green.
Yeah.
Greenish yellowish, which is kind of weird. And then you had the red and the orange and then the pale blue, which is like one incident of that I've seen so far. I don't know. It makes me wonder, it's kind of like, okay. I mean, I can think that maybe one or two of these might be, okay. So there's a bunch of these sightings that seem to happen down in like South America. Mm-hmm. And in Mexico City too, or basically in Mexico. Yeah. And it makes me wonder if a lot of those are not real.
Well, yeah.
Because some of them are obvious. Some of them, are obvious special effects or VFX that you can use or that have been made, and kind of put it in the video. But some look obviously like drones. Like if you go to YouTube and you do like Flying Witch, you'll see where somebody basically made like a remote controlled or radio controlled,
drone
witch. It looks like a witch flying around, right?
Yeah.
And you can use the drones and stuff. And there's like flying lawnmowers. There's the flying Snoopy.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And so some of those I think aren't necessarily real, and they're flying around and the video's been caught or put up to the internet so you could
what was it? It was like the one that was in Brazil like earlier this year and everybody shared it and we're like
a flying man, just looks like a flying man
because it took off from a light pole.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, that is so clearly
not real. I mean, not what you think it is or not what they're trying to tell you it is. I mean, there's a lot of footage like that comes out, seems like out of South America.
Yeah.
But the eye shine was different on this one. That's why I kind of liked it and stuck it in there. And they also talk about, some of the different sightings and stuff where, like this particular sighting you just talked about was about 14 miles away from other sightings that have happened there. But this is in towards Gary, Indiana. So it's kind of like, and then when you had a lot of the Lake Michigan area sightings that kind of began in spring of 2017.
Yeah.
And they take place close to the lakefront, that sort of thing, and we're in Chicago and all, but why in the past, let's just say 6 years, has there been so many of these sightings?
Yeah.
A large bat, bird-like creature around the water. Sometimes it's described, in a small number of cases with all these sightings, it's described as insect-like.
Yeah.
And sometimes with glowing or reflective red, yellow, or orange eyes. And then humanoid features, arms and legs, but... See, the insect-like creature, I can see that kind of being possibly Mothman.
Yeah.
But everything else, it'd be hard. The bat-like stuff, of course, looks like a bat, but then you get the feathers or the owl. So you've got insect, avian, and then whatever bat would be.
The batty, yeah.
Yeah.
And one thing that I notice is, like, when critics start to pick this apart, one thing they know is, well, there's all these other sightings from, far off. And that far off, if you look at the map, is all of these sightings occur within 140 miles.
Yeah.
Like the concentration. I mean, there may be one or two outliers past that 140, but it's not much. Yeah. And if you think about, like, large predators or large animals that we are aware that exist, their territory is huge.
Yeah.
In New Mexico, 140 miles might be a drive to work almost. I mean, it's not that large of a distance as far as like...
it's not,
Yeah, and especially when it comes to birds. So anything flying. I mean, you have like herons that fly from, the East Coast all the way to the Southwest for the winter. It's not that great of a distance and actually kind of adds to the credibility of there's something going on here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. But it just seems like it's been... I mean, okay. So we've been paying attention to stuff for a long time. Mm-hmm. And I mean, not just since we started doing the podcast, but before that. And it's like, I've never heard of this many sightings. It's like, wow, they're all over the place. As far as like, the quantity of them.
Yeah.
It just seems kind of weird to me. So I don't know why. So maybe they are interdimensional interlopers.
I don't know.
Maybe they're mutant hybrids.
That's funny because you're listing these possibilities, and there's this one site we really didn't dive into.
We didn't even talk about the flying reptilians. I think those would be more like gargoyles, if you had to put a category.
But this one site actually asks everyone who reads the article at the end. This is exemplore.com.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end, they give all these theories about unidentified flying humanoids and like the possibilities that you just listed. They want your opinion.
Yeah.
Out of all their possibilities, which I didn't really buy, 35% said something else entirely, because the options were humanoids associated with UFOs, secret government projects, unclassified animals,
yes,
unknown humanoids from Earth, or something else entirely. And the next highest one is secret government projects.
Yeah,
which I don't know. I'm not leaning towards that with
maybe
most of them, with the exception of Mothman. And the reason for Mothman is because he was sighted near, like, closed off or no trespassing areas that, there were rumors about,
Yeah, but, I mean, it's also been since the 60s. So
yeah.
I don't know. I don't know how far along, if the government even does anything like with genetic hybridization that would be. I don't know.
Yeah.
So... Yeah, and there was also another sighting around the Kentucky-Ohio border in 2017.
Huh.
Where it says the witness was driving on a eastbound Route 52, on a desolate area of the road, about a quarter mile away from the Ohio River. Right?
Yeah.
And they basically said suddenly, only about 35 to 40 feet off the ground, the driver observed a silhouette in the approaching traffic lights, and then the headlights of his vehicle would appear to be a large humanoid creature with a huge wingspan.
Oh.
Huge. Right? It says the witness described the humanoid body as being about 5 to 5.5 feet long. The skin color was dark tan, but not black or brown. And the wings of the creature were estimated to have a wingspan of 12 to 15 feet. No feathers, only what appeared to be skin.
Huh. That's a more...
I mean, that would make sense, because you would have to have a really big wingspan,
Yeah, and it seems more realistic to me as far as an explanation, because 5 to 5.5 feet long, you would want to almost triple that as far as an adequate wingspan.
Yeah, I would think, yeah.
Yeah.
Unless you got hollow bones or something, but
but how does the hollow... And that's one thing, like from a biological standpoint, how would the hollow bone, thing happen on something so large?
I don't know. We'll have to ask a chicken. Chickens got little
but they don't fly.
Yeah, they can. But,
yeah.
I mean, they don't. They're not meant for flying that much anymore. They're more,
more for chasing me down the driveway.
More ground, more ground thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, saying here's the reason why I kind of put this in here. The man stated that he never saw the wings flap, and that the wings were spread out, and he did notice that the joints of the wings were very pronounced.
Like a bat?
Yeah. Or a glider.
Yeah.
Maybe something like that, right? And that the legs were also held together and back, and that the arms were held at the side of the body and basically extended around the thighs. Like this thing just flies. I don't know how to describe it. It's like, he's got these big glider-like bat wing on him, and he just got his arms to his side and
that's weird.
feet together and sort of takes off. So
I don't know.
they seen it for a couple seconds.
Yeah.
Right? And as they approached him, it passed overhead. He never saw the wings flap. It just kind of like took off. Oh. Kind of weird, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's and then they also reference another one where basically it said this was in San Bernardino, California.
Yeah.
And whatever it was, it flew straight at them. Mm-hmm. It went right over the car. They thought they were going to crash. This was like around 2000. And it said it happened so fast we didn't see a head or glowing eyes, just the lower body and wings that were wider than the car. And this person remembers the legs. They were solid black and looked skeletal.
Bat. Yeah.
Right. And the feet also appeared to be skeletal and had claws. And they said they sat in the driveway for about an hour, so they were too scared to get out. At the time, they told a few friends who wrote it off as being a bat. And this person said, I never brought it up since, but I think about it every so often. And last night was one of those times. So they Googled the description and ran into the Phantoms and Monsters website.
Wow.
Because of all these reported sightings, right?
Yeah.
So it's like you have all these descriptors, man. You got the Owlman, you got the avian style, you got, the Mothman, you got the man-bat style, you got the style that basically a flying humanoid just doesn't flap its wings and can just fly. And then you got this thing saying skeletal legs and feet.
So
I wonder how many of these possible sightings are possibly the government with some kind of technology to allow a dude to fly.
Like in a skin suit.
Like a skin suit or like a flying sugar glider squirrel type thing.
Yeah.
Or some kind of glider, maybe made out of some material that's, can let them do that. I don't know. It's just kind of weird because our last podcast, we talked about the guy with the bird face and the wings and the combat boots, right? Running across.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man. It's just, I don't understand why there's so many of these sightings just in the past 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. It doesn't make sense.
And I was thinking about the last podcast where we talked about, like, the combat boots guy,
Yeah.
And I thought, with the way that uniform was described, it actually reminded me a little bit of like the old school flight suits.
Yeah, like coveralls.
Yeah.
He's wearing like a flight suit coveralls and got some wings attached to it.
Like all-in-one coveralls.
Yeah, so...
And the green color and then the
so
boots.
What if this guy's wearing his coveralls and he can run, and then he hits a button and the wings pop out? He's Glider Man. Or something like that.
Which is funny because then you type glide suit or wingsuit into Google and you end up with these people whose most of their glide suits have a colorful stripe or streak that is reflective and reflects interesting colors. But then you have like these movie ones and they're all black and they're very thin and wiry.
Yeah.
Which makes me go back to the whole bat description.
Well, I mean, if you look at Batman.
Yeah.
Like in the first Batman, I think it was the first Batman movie with Michael Keaton, where he goes to fly, he hits a button and his glider wings pop out and he just jumps off the building and glides like a hang glider, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. And then you look at like Batman Begins with Christian Bale. I think it's called Batman Begins with Christian Bale, where his cape turned into the wings because it had that nanotechnology or whatever it was, the cloth that gets hard.
Yeah.
Which we actually do have that. So it just makes me wonder if some of these sightings are actually somebody or military or something that actually has sort of made or created some kind of suit, like with pop-out wings or something like that, to actually be able to fly somehow.
Yeah.
I don't know how you propel yourself. But a lot of the ones that are like you just hop straight up in the air and took off and didn't flap its wings.
And here's one thing. All of these glide suits I'm seeing so far, the legs are attached. So that would be in some of these reports,
Yeah.
Like, because the legs have like this
membrane in between.
Yeah.
That's how you steer.
Yeah. So, I don't know. I'm not sure if that's a valid, scientific explanation to explain it all away.
Yeah, and this, and there was another sighting that happened in 2017 where the person talks about a human-like being walking in the yard of a house on the corner, which is about a block away from this person, where they'd seen this. And it says the being suddenly produced a large set of wings and took flight.
Oh.
Gliding over the back gate of the property, it then disappeared in the trees and the foliage of the next block.
Okay.
Like suddenly produced wings. If this person is just walking and then all of a sudden popped up some wings and glided away, it's like, how is that happening? What can you do that? I mean, how?
I don't know.
It just makes me wonder what some of these sightings are. Are they natural? As in, it's a beast of some kind? And I wouldn't say natural. Let's say paranatural.
Yeah.
Right? Or is it, again, who knows? That's what I don't know, man.
So,
like maybe it has the ability to, because I've been trying to figure this out. It's like if I was going to create a suit where I could pop some wings out and just sort of glide away, what would be some of the material you could use to make it happen? There is material that, with basically with sunlight, right? It energizes or basically puts energy on the wing, which helps to create lift.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't know, man. It's like, I don't think all of these are natural or paranatural. I do think that a lot of these are technologically or technology related, I should say.
And
but I don't know.
As you're describing that, I did find one interesting Google image result. I'm trying to get it to load, but it's like where it goes from that skin tight, kind of high tech suit, and then turns into the typical wingsuit just out of nowhere. So it can go from normal to flying very quickly, but it's a concept suit, so it's not like it's really gonna be available to a large group of people. See? Oh.
Yeah. I seen it. Oh yeah.
Yeah. So.
And what if somebody in the Chicago area or a group of people, maybe they're trying to become superheroes? I don't know.
Oh, which is funny because that's the next link on here.
Like look at Batman, right?
See?
Yep.
Yeah.
Be a superhero. I don't know. I'm just kind of curious about the whole thing. And there's been a lot of reported sightings in different areas. A lot of them are bat-like.
But if somebody were trying to be a superhero, like the whole underground superhero thing that they were trying to do in 2015 movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There would be a lot of cops writing citations because it's basically disturbing the peace or jumping from a building without a flight suit.
If you're a superhero, you're not stopping to talk to a cop.
Well, I'm not saying that. I'm saying these people would have been apprehended in the process.
Maybe not.
I mean, with 80 plus sightings, one of them's bound to get caught.
Not if you're flying away.
And
it's
plus,
like, hey, stop. I'll just fly away. Take that.
Pretty sure you got to notify the city if you plan on jumping off of a major building with
you
a
obviously have
wingsuit.
no idea how vigilante justice / comic book stuff works.
And you have no idea how...
Oh, you got me. Go ahead and take my mask off and show me my secret identity to everybody.
I'm pretty sure somebody would have got caught.
Maybe not. Well, those people that got caught probably didn't make the reported sightings list. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I'm going to fly away now. Hey, halt. Who goes there? I'm a cop. No, you don't get caught. You're going to whiz away, man.
That's what I'm saying. It's unlikely.
And what if it's like the Vulture in the recent Spider-Man movie?
Oh, gosh.
Which was played by Batman, Michael Keaton.
Okay.
See? What if it's something like that?
I don't know.
Some kind of electricity suit?
No, my point is, if it were, some vigilante type stuff, somebody would have been bound to get caught, and they haven't been.
Well, maybe not.
I don't know.
Can't say for sure, can you?
Well, no. I mean, we could try to look it up and do some more research.
How are we going to look it up? Screwball superhero guy
Dumb guy gets caught, yeah.
I'm sure there's been plenty of people jumping off buildings with wings. I mean, every kid has tried that at least once. I'm going to fly. Jumps off the roof with a towel or blanket or something dumb like that, trying to make a parachute or even trying to fly with wings. I know that's been tried.
Mm-hmm.
What do you mean? Mm-hmm. I mean, okay, if you've jumped off a roof trying to fly, send us a message.
No, I'm sure.
Yeah. But I don't know. I just think that some of these aren't necessarily natural and they're more maybe man-made somehow sightings.
Okay.
Man-made as maybe some of the technology to fly around. Who knows, man? It's a subject that if you really start to dig into it, there is too much stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Now, the easiest solution is the one that we talked about in the very beginning of the podcast, which has been alluded to from John Keel. And that quote actually came from a Mysterious Universe article written by Brett Swancer, where basically, I'll say it again, other theories have included that it's some sort or some undiscovered species of animal, mutant secret experiment that escaped aliens, or the idea that it's some sort of interdimensional interloper. Right? Otherwise known as an ultra-terrestrial.
Okay.
That's an easy explanation because you can explain anything with that. They don't exist in our dimension. They exist in a parallel dimension, and they pop through every so often, or a parallel universe.
Is that from the Man Bat article?
I think so.
Yeah, Man Bat of Mississippi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I read that one too, and it's like, okay. But, it just...
But it goes back to that bat description.
Yeah, and the bat, it seems to be pretty popular, and the bat would make sense if you're trying to build some kind of thing that is like spring-loaded or something where you hit a button and it pops wings out and you fly away.
And plus, bats in the wild, they are very compact. I mean, they have all that.
They got to tuck it all in and everything, right?
Yeah.
Because otherwise, a bird folds his wings and tucks them in along the back, which is one way of doing it. But, the bat has the articulated joints.
Yeah.
That you can really sort of tuck in there real good. So, I mean, if you were doing something like that and you were trying to invent some kind of super cool suit to fly away, and you'd probably use a bat because it could be like a glider. Because if you look at hang gliders, they kind of look like bat wings the way that,
Yeah.
I don't know. And then, you look at paragliders and how they actually glide, where the wing is basically, there's an upper and a lower and the center channel piece of, looks like a part of a parachute, right? You give it a little bit of wind, man, that thing whoops right up. We've been watching that paraglider guy.
Oh, yeah.
On the YouTubes. That wing, because that's what they call it. They don't call it like, a parachute or whatever. That wing pops up real fast. It doesn't take a whole lot of nothing to get it up in the air. So who's to say that somebody hasn't created something like that somehow? I don't know. I'm just kind of curious as to, I wish somebody would create like a wingsuit like that. You hit a button, wings pop out, and you fly away. Isn't that cool? I think.
Well, yeah, and like I was saying, I mean, there's a couple of concept suits out there if you look them up and dig far enough, but I don't think they'd be in the hands of your everyday Joe.
Nope, but it might be in the hands of the military.
True.
So. I mean, they built an inflatable plane. That was like World War II, though, but still. Yeah, pretty interesting. Anyway, we just kind of want to touch, sort of scratch the top of this whole flying humanoid thing, and just with some sightings. So, yeah, and there's a bunch of theories out there. A lot of them are garbage. I mean, they are. It's like, oh, you didn't see a 12-foot wingspan, 7-foot tall person. You seen a bird, an owl.
And I saw that on social media again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That, 12-foot wide wingspan, 5.5 feet long body bat-looking thing that you seen.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just a small bat.
No, it wasn't.
Oh, those greenish yellowish eyes that you seen?
Owl.
No, that was definitely an owl.
Yeah.
Well, that owl is 8 feet tall. No. Still an owl. It's like, okay, if I'm describing to you, if I see something that looks like an owl, and I describe it to you and said, it looks like an owl, and you come back to me and go, well, what you seen was an owl. It's like, what? Are you even listening? It's like, come on, man. Think about the parts that are different. That's why when I read these accounts and stuff, I always look for details that don't necessarily make sense. I mean, the whole thing could be sort of phantasmagorical, right?
Yeah.
But like that last one, dude wearing combat boots. Like, why does a flying dude need combat boots?
Yeah.
Maybe he does to run and take off.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know.
So we've said, I don't know a lot.
I've said, I don't know 32 times.
In this podcast. What do you believe or what do you think?
I don't know. No, like I've been saying, I think it's a mixture. I think that people really are seeing stuff, but I think some of it is man-made. I think that some of it is sort of some kind of man technology. I also think that some of it is just not real at all. I think that some of it is somebody built a huge RC glider / plane / RC aircraft type thing, and can just fly it away like the flying lawnmower, right? Or some of my favorites are when they build like Star Trek. Have you seen that? It had Flying Enterprise. This Flying Star Destroyer from Star Wars. That was a good one. The Millennium Falcon, where they just they build these huge RC crafts. So why not make one look like a person and fly it away? There's one that looks like Iron Man.
Well, yeah, because I remember
it's like
seeing
6 feet long. It actually looks like Iron Man go flying by.
I remember seeing the witch one from not last Halloween, but the Halloween before it.
Yeah.
And because it was like chasing people, and then it got caught in a tree.
Yeah.
I remember that one. And I do remember the Snoopy one. But I don't know. I kind of think like the whole bat creature or like flying humanoid. It'd be kind of hard to get one that could lift all that decoration, I guess.
No, it's totally easy to do that. They do it all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you're looking from a distance and it just looks like a person from a distance, you can make one 8 feet tall and have the wings pop out and it just pops up in the air and flies off. It doesn't have to weigh anything at all. It can be made out of styrofoam. Because from a distance, it'd be hard to see mass. But the ones that are like flying over your car, it looks like that might be something different. I mean, that's what I'm saying. It's kind of hard to say.
See, that's what I was thinking of. Like the ones that fly
if you look
over
at like on YouTube, Casey Neistat, it was basically picked up by a drone, was flown by a drone, hanging off the bottom of that thing. So, and you got people with jetpacks, man. Like that one guy that wears them on his arms.
Yeah.
And he points them at the ground, and he flies around. So you got jetpack guy. You've got people being picked up by drones. You've got, RC radio controlled enthusiasts building these huge things. Now, granted, some of these reports happened from a while ago, but who's to say that some of these might be mistaken for something like that?
No, with the exception,
we could build one. We could actually take our drone now, and it'll pick up up to I think it's like 4 or 5 pounds. So if you could make something out of styrofoam, that could be pretty large, it'll fly. That's what gliders do. So I mean, I don't know. It's kind of hard to say.
Because the one thing about all of those is the amount of wind resistance you'd get from the styrofoam.
Well, if you have a wing,
and
that's kind of what you want. You want lift. It creates lift.
And the noise. Everything you listed, with the exception of some of the very high-end drones, there's going to be a little bit of noise element.
Again, you can supersede that distance, and if it's lightweight enough and they make propellers that are really quiet. When you buy a drone, like say a Phantom or a Mavic or whatever, most of them don't have these propellers that are quiet. You actually can buy propellers that are like up to 30% quieter.
Yeah.
So that would drastically reduce the noise.
Okay.
And who's to say that whatever they're flying with is propeller based? It could be something else. I don't know.
So
that's just the thing.
Yeah, and I appreciate what we just did right there, because what we did right there is actually give the rational explanations, or tit for tat. Like
what you've seen was an owl. 8-foot tall owl.
No, because and this actually happened the other day. I shared something really interesting that's been making the rounds on social media.
Yeah.
And the first discount statement to it was something along the lines of, Photoshop. First off, it's a video.
So that'd be VFX.
Yeah. And see, that's where I get,
Well, that's the cop out for everything.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people do these days. They look at something, if they can't explain it, they instantly go to, it's a fake.
But they don't even back themselves up with it's a fake.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, well, technically it would be After Effects, or some sort of
visual effects. Yeah.
Yeah, some sort of visual effects video software.
Yeah.
And like we were talking about the wings and the quieter propellers. No, these people just automatically discount certain things.
And then they go on with their lives. Whereas I look at that stuff and go, how could I do that? Could I do that? Like, if you want to be Iron Man, how could you be Iron Man, right?
Yeah,
it's that sort of thing. Because if you could duplicate that to a certain extent, then whatever it is that you think you've seen would not be out of the realm of possibility. In other words, here's kind of how if I could sort of figure out how to do it, then I'm sure somebody way smarter than me already has.
And that's the point of it. It's like, instead of, let's find the actual explanation and explore it further if it's not paranormal.
Yeah.
Because
it's on the internet.
saying, that's Photoshop is literally the equivalent of saying, no, it's a big heron or it's an owl. Yeah. And that's the point of what I'm trying to say.
You didn't see a Thunderbird.
Yeah, just saying, Photoshop on stuff is literally the equivalent.
Yeah, and they do that with Bigfoot stuff and anything paranormal. They're like, it's fake. It's like, okay.
Okay, show me how it's fake.
Yeah. Oh, it's fake. All right, well, how do I do that?
And then there's nothing else. Yeah. That's the point.
It's like, that's all you got. All right.
Yeah.
And and there's a bunch of Flying Man videos out there too. So if you look up Flying Man, you'll see a ton of different stuff.
Yeah, I'm actually like bookmarking some of these because I want to watch them later.
Yeah, and there's like the hoverboard guy, who basically you stand on the hoverboard thing, just like the Green Goblin did in Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. Got one of those little flying things, and you got the other guy that's flying around. And then you have the thing where it's like it's more like a robot really, but I think Disney Studios invented it to where, have you seen it? They sling it back and forth like on a trapeze, and when it releases, it looks like Superman or somebody like a superhero.
Yeah.
And you can film it and use that for like special effects type work. But
did you know they originally intended to use that as Tinkerbell when she flies down at the end of the night at the park?
No, I did not know that.
But instead, it kind of scared the kids.
So it's crazy.
So
looking. It's like a flying robot looking.
So they had to go back to using the human.
Yeah. It's less scary.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's got to be some kind of explanation, and if there is some kind of explanation, possible human type explanation, I would think that the government probably has some part of it, because if you could fly, if you're a flying man, you could kind of fly in that small footprint. In other words, you don't necessarily need a ton of stuff to fly, and you're a human, and you can just, you don't need a plane, for example. The government would definitely be involved.
Yeah, but none of these meet like the Tony Stark or Falcon type,
Well, no, but if it's going to be relatively close to that, it's kind of like Rocket Man. Remember the Rocket Man?
Yeah.
Movie? He flew. He had a little rocket on his back, so who knows? But Da Vinci drew all sorts of gliders and stuff like that to make the flying man. But, yeah. I think we're done talking about flying humanoids. At least for now, anyway. So, something's out there. I don't know. Lots of sightings, different places, different styles, different types of sightings with creatures, possible creatures. Who knows? I would like to see more.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I wish somebody would whoop out and catch some kind of footage or something like that. So, something not fake. But then again, if we've seen it, what are we going to say? Well, it's Photoshop.
Well, I did find one, and we'll probably talk about that later, but like the last decent footage, I guess, or photo evidence somebody did of Mothman in 2016.
Yeah.
Those photos were really interesting. Like, I'd love to take another look at them because they legit look like somebody or a humanoid figure flying from one tree to another tree.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah. So, I don't know.
Well, that's fake.
Fake.
Yeah, that's what they said with the Wright brothers, too, when they flew. Fake. You didn't fly. Fake. Well, technically, they didn't really fly as much as they glided, but yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Been lots of sightings here recently, so we will kind of keep an eye out and see what we can see. But, that's really about it.
Okay.
So, you got anything?
I do want to remind everybody we will be at the Spruce Pine Alien Conference and Expo, and be sure to check out all the links in the show notes to this podcast episode. Along with all the helpful links about flying humanoids, we do have a link for recommended reading.
Nice.
And that would be Encounters with Flying Humanoids. Just click on that Amazon link if you'd like to read everything in our podcast notes plus more. So be sure to contact us and reach out to us if you've got something to say. The email address is contact@creepgeeks.com, or hop onto any of those social media platforms we talked about earlier. We're pretty active on Facebook, and we've got a great Facebook group. It's all about getting to know each other, show suggestions, and the occasional funny meme.
Yes.
Yes.
So anyway, very nice. So June 14th and 15th is the Spruce Pine Alien Convention and Expo.
Yes.
So if you're in the town and you're in the area and you want to pop by, go for it. We'll be there. You should come say hello.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think that's about all I got.
Okay.
All right. So anyway, see you later. Take it easy. Bye-bye.
Bye.